We're going to do a couple things. Today, we're going to talk about how to run an effective evaluation. And this is important because you're emotionally tied to this goal. And so it's really easy. The thing you have to understand is that your brain is always going to show you the crappy things of why it's not working. And so I want to teach you how to get very clinical and a little less emotional about the results that you are not producing. So I'm going to give you a strategy to do that. Then we're going to talk about next steps. I actually, if you guys looked in the group chat, I think it was Alicia asked, like, I think I'm there, like, can I go into, I think my metabolism is high enough, can I go into a burn? I'm going to explain to you how to break that down so you know exactly when to go to that next step. And I'll go back and post it in the group as well. And then I'll explain to you if you decide that you want to move forward and work with me, I'll explain how it works. So we'll go from there. All right, so clinical versus critical. Here's how it works. It's a three-step process. And the first is always what worked. What wins do you have? Now, sometimes that's going to be easy. Sometimes you're going to go, oh, I lost a pound, or my waistline is going down, or I feel less bloated. Sometimes you're going to feel like nothing worked. And what I want you to get in the practice of doing is forcing your brain to come up with a couple of things. And I can tell you every time I do this with a client, when they get stuck and they're just kind of sitting there and they're like, nothing worked. I'll give them one. And I'm like, well, what about this? And they're like, oh, yeah. And then like two more will come, right? And the reason that that happens is that you're teaching your brain what to show you. So we want to show your brain like, hey, this is important, show me some things that are working. It could be, and as we're going through this, I would love for you guys to throw in the chat like things that you noticed that worked for you this week. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physiological win. It could be a strategy that you tried. Like maybe at the beginning of the week you were having a hard time hitting your 3 meals in one snack, and then you tried a strategy and that worked. A lot of times with clients, we talk about protein and fiber and hitting those numbers. In the beginning it's a little bit hard, but then they try a strategy and they're like, oh, it worked. Or maybe like the meal planner that I sent out. A lot of times clients are like, oh, I used that and it actually was very helpful. Like, what are some of the things that you implemented this week that helped create a win, or a strategy that you're like, this actually works for me? Let's see what we got here. You guys go ahead and you can throw them up. I got my fiber up. That's great, Alicia. That's amazing. That's a good one. Jan says she's lifting heavier weight and slept better. Those are all wins. Those are great wins, guys. How did you get your fiber up, Alicia? What was the strategy that you used? So let's get a little bit more specific real quick. I know I'm asking a lot from early morningers to use their brain. Think about the strategy that you use. Same thing, Jen, like you slept better. Was there something that you did? Was there a strategy? Did you create a nighttime routine? Like think of it in terms of strategies, because if you can get your brain to focus on that, it will be easier on the weeks that it's harder to find that win. Alicia says she was reading labels and added more fruit. There you go, right? And once you do it, it's only hard until you do it a couple times. And then it's like, oh no, like I can do this. You find the thing that works. So good stuff, guys. Really good stuff. Jan, logging my food showed me that I am not eating, meaning that I am not enough or eating too much calories. There you are. It sounds like you're swinging, right, Jan? Like maybe you're not eating enough and then you swing into overeating. I think that's what that means. So yeah, like those are all wins. You can actually start to see like, oh, this is why this is happening. So always start with that first. That's first up. What wins do you have? What worked? What strategies did you try? And then the easy part is you go into what didn't work. What are your struggles? And I do want you guys to list a couple if you have them so that I can help you while I'm here. What didn't work? What was the thing that you did that you're like, oh, this is even harder than I thought, or this didn't work out the way I thought it was? Or maybe, and this happens a lot with clients where we pick a strategy and they're like, this is what I'm going to do. And then when they go to implement it, it all falls to shit, right? So what are things that didn't work out for you? Francisca, Poop has been regular and did 2 of the recipes and they were tasty. Turkey was substituted for minced soy. Tired again, not giving up. There you go. So there's the win, right? We've got more regular digestion, which is huge. She figured out how to substitute a turkey for some soy, which is great. Today she's tired of getting up, right? So those are all good stuff. Writing like a 4-year-old, it's okay. Typing fast. I also probably can't see it very well, so I'm not saying it right. So any other struggles that you guys had? What did you bump up against? Was it hard? Were some of you, this was ones that I thought would pop up is a lot of times if you're used to skipping meals and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm like trying to eat frequently, a struggle can be like, I forgot to get my meal in. Snacks are difficult. There you go, Francesca. It's getting those meals in because you're so accustomed to skipping those meals. And another one that can come up too is where in the beginning you feel kind of bloated because your body isn't used to getting the food in and you're used to swinging, right? We're under eating to overeating. So when you eat, you're used to eating a larger amount of food. And then it's like, oh, I have 2 more meals to eat. Like, how do I do that? So those are ones that will come up where you're just like, oh, like I need to figure out like how to, and that would be the next step. So it's like, okay, was the issue. So how do I fix that? Getting more protein and fiber, feeling fuller when I do and when don't need a snack. Yep, very common. If you're used to skipping meals or you're used to skipping from not eating enough to overeating, when you start eating more frequently, what you'll notice is you feel like you're forcing yourself to eat because you're just like, oh, like I'm full. Your body isn't used to digesting that much protein and fiber, right? So you just feel kind of bloated. And it just takes some time to let the metabolism catch up and settle back in. And just remembering, a lot of times my clients will just say, I just forget to eat because I'm not hungry. Um, Carol says, I'm still on catch up, got a couple of days to catch up on, busy with working. This first meeting I've been to. Well, okay, that is a win, Carol. Here's why it's a win. I'm going to tell you. It's a win because most of the time, our brains like all or nothing. Our brains work in black or white. Yes, no, in, out, off, on. That is how our brains work because it's easy, it's clean, right? Life is not clean, it's messy. And so your brain could have been like, I was late. I missed the first couple of days. I'm missing all of the good stuff and I'm going to catch it at the very end. Why even bother? I missed all the good stuff. And yet, here you are on the last day. Done, right? That is a win. So congratulations. Good job. Jan, when I was out field for work, I had to snack on jerky and had lunch at 3. So there is like this trying to figure out like how it works, right? Like you go to do something different and it's kind of messy. You're like, oh, like now I'm eating lunch at 3 and now I'm trying to get my snack in. And now I'm like eating later in the day because I'm not used to eating earlier in the day, right? So here's what I want you to do with whatever your challenges were. We're going to hit the third step. What will you do differently this week? Different is not better. And your brain is just going to go, oh, I'll do better next week. I hear it all the time. Oh, I know. I really messed with it. This week was crazy. It's like probably the most common thing I hear on a weekly basis. This week was just crazy. And I'm like, yeah, every week is crazy. That's just life, right? So I don't want you to do better. I want you to tell me what you're going to do differently to create a different result. Now, it may not work either, but you won't hit a different result if you try to just do the same thing over again. Like, what will you do differently? So when you guys listed your challenges that you had, and most of them are related to like trying to figure out how to get those meals in, right? Like, what can you do differently this week that would create a different result? One could be that you just use the alarm on your phone to remind you, right? Like set an alarm at like different times of the day. And it's like, hey, eat. I do that with clients where they're like, I get so busy with work that I don't eat, right? Set an alarm on your phone, have it go off. So it's a reminder. It helps you, right? So write down what are some of the things that you could do differently this week. And if you guys want to share them, you can. I know sometimes that's a harder one to think on the spot, but you can share them if you want to. Double check. So that is going to be how you do an effective evaluation. And what it will also do, it's going to keep you more clinical, right? But it's also going to always keep you moving forward. Because if you're always going, well, this didn't work, and this is what I'm going to do differently, you always know where your focus is for that following week. There's never a time where you're like, I don't really know what to do, or I'm stagnant. It's always going to be moving forward. let's see, let me go back here. Carol, I want to learn to eat a better way. Okay. Um, can you give me a specific? What you mean by that? What is a better way? What does that mean? Can you be specific on that? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I think I know what you mean, but be specific on that so I can help you. Francesca, I have bad workout when I don't eat before, or I have a great workout when I didn't eat. So basically, it sounds like you notice a difference in your workouts when you eat before versus when you didn't. Is that correct? Yep. So you're noticing things, right? Francesca, we've talked about this. It's just that quick like scan of like I'm noticing what my body is giving me in terms of feedback. Sure I didn't miss anything. So that's going to be how you run your evaluations. And the goal again is to keep you very clinical. And also because you're focusing on this wins and what worked, remember we talked about this yesterday, you will go wherever you're looking at. And if you get caught up in it's not working, it's not working, I did these things and it's not working, that's where you're going to go, right? So you're helping your brain know exactly where to go. Carol says quick meals to eat that are budget friendly but well balanced. There you go. So, and you don't have to chat, but you can. What I would say is, did you find any this week that worked? And how did it work? So like, for example, it was kind of funny. I had a client message me yesterday. She's like, I just got back at 2 a.m. and I had this going on and I worked and I did this and I just don't have time, to meal prep, but here's what I'm going to do. And I gave her some tips on things that she could get for protein that were like, you throw it in a pan and you heat it up. And she goes, I've got this that I can heat up, and then I've got this rice that is like I can throw in a microwave. I've got those, and then I've got some bagged veggies that I can throw in, and that's just going to have to be good enough. And it kind of made me laugh because I'm like, well, that's how I eat every day. So like, it doesn't have to be like these elaborate meals. It's like pick a protein, pick a starch, pick a veggie, throw it in a bowl, eat it, add fruit. That's it. Right. So like, were there things, Carol, that you ate or meals that you came up with that worked for you and then kind of build off of that? Hopefully that helps. Okay. Success beyond the challenge. There are three phases to sustainable weight loss and fat loss. And we've talked about this before. It's the 3Bs method. The first is always balance. Now, I care about the first four, those foundational four hormones in the very beginning. That doesn't mean that you're not going to balance out things like estrogen and progesterone, and those things do matter. But when I talk about balance, these are the four that I care the most about because they have the biggest impact on your metabolism. So that's going to be your ghrelin, your leptin, your insulin, and your cortisol. Now, once you start to balance those out, which a lot of you have already started this week, right? The results are you're just going to feel better. You're going to notice you're less puffy. You'll see it in your face. You'll see it in your waistline. You'll see it in your back. You're just less puffy from a decrease in inflammation. And so by doing this, sometimes you'll see a few pounds drop off on the scale. Usually you're just going to see that you're smaller and you feel like you're more firm. That is usually what you will notice. And your energy levels are more stable. Yes, you're sleeping better. Like you just feel like you're more stable instead of that constant up and down all the time. So we always want to start with the balance. Now, once we start to do that, then we take, and I think it was Alicia, you asked in the group chat, I'll go back and answer it there too, but I'm going to explain this too. We go into boost, right? And then we're going to go into burn, but boost is where we're going to take that metabolic rate and we're going to increase it. Now, here's how you know if you need a boost. If you have tracked your food diligently, you've done the weighing, you've done the measuring, you're not eyeballing, but you've actually taken the time, invested the time and effort to tracking your food. And if the amount of food that you're taking in is significantly less than what your tracker is telling you you're burning, or you're using the TDE calculator. So let's say that your TDE calculator says you're burning 2,400 calories. Your tracker says that you're averaging between 23 and 2,500, right? But when you go to log your food, you're at 1,800. Okay, that means we need to boost your metabolism up because and if your weight is stable, right? And if you try to eat that amount, you gain weight. That means your body is not actually running at that level. So we want to increase that metabolic rate. The easiest ways to do that is to lift weights, The lifting weights is gonna pull the insulin in and use the calories, increase movement and exercise because that's going to release hunger hormones. And then we wanna just slowly increase those calories over time. Now, what I will say is that, let's say that the example is you're trying to get closer to that 2,300 calorie mark and you're eating like 2,100. You're like, God, I'm like so close. You're at 2,000, you're 2,100. And I get this a lot from clients too, where they're just like, I'm right at that 2,000 mark, right at the 2,100 calories, but Jen, I just can't imagine eating any more food. Like I'm so full. And my question is always like, okay, well, could you eat a cookie? And the answer is always, well, yeah, I could eat a cookie. Eat the cookie, right? When you're eating protein and fiber, you're eating all these very nutrient dense foods, it's really hard to eat a lot of calories because you're so satiated, right? So throw a little junk in there, throw a cookie in there, throw a couple bites of a dessert in there, throw in something that you really enjoy, building in that satisfaction. It's not going to matter as long as you're hitting your protein and your fiber and drinking enough water, you're doing all of those foundational things. Those extra little things are going to keep you satisfied, and they're also going to help boost your calories up to get
Bye.
you where you need to go.
Bye-bye. Love ya.
Oops. I think
Bye,
hold on.
Harry.
Who's it? Carol, can I have you? Let me see if I can mute you. Hold on. I just muted you. Okay, you're good. So I find it really hard to track my eating over a longer time and getting cooked food in my body. Yep, it takes practice. That takes practice. And the goal, at least for me, is to do it long enough to get the information that you need to and then stop doing it. A lot of times people kind of live half-assed, right? Like I'm gonna kind of log and then I quit logging at the end of the day. And then every morning I'm gonna tell myself I'm gonna log again. So you only end up logging half the day, or when you go out to eat, you don't log. Like for me, it's like commit to whatever you're gonna do. Commit to the whole thing. Regardless, let it be messy, let it not be perfect. If you end up going out to eat, we know it's not going to be correct. But if you commit to logging that day, then log that day. And when you're done logging, you're done logging. Get the information that you need so you're not getting kind of half information. And honestly, it just takes practice in logging. Over time, it does get easier. So we want to make sure that we're boosting the calories up. Right now, when this happens, you're going to get an increase in metabolic rate. And what you will notice is that you will have increased hunger, right? You're going to notice that you have an increase in energy. You're going to notice an increase in strength. A lot of times you'll get a body composition shift. And this kind of is weird for people. They're like, I don't understand. Like I'm eating more calories, but my waistline is dropping. It's because your body is being fueled and your metabolic rate is kicking up and it's in a healthier place. So it's processing better, you're digesting better, it's running at a higher level. So it's not uncommon for ladies to still drop a few pounds while they're eating more calories. And it's definitely not uncommon for them to notice a composition shift just because that uptick in metabolic rate. And then it's just a matter of like managing the calories and not swinging into overeating. Those are the things that you're going to notice with the boost. And then we go into like, okay, how do I know when I can go into this burn, right? How you'll know is when the number of calories you're taking in. So, and this was the question too, and I love this because what Alicia said, she was like, my schmeck seems to be in check. That's the first thing. Like, remember we went through that yesterday. If you guys haven't watched, go back and watch the video from yesterday. Is hormonally, we want all of those markers to be a 4 or 5. So your sleep, your hunger, your mood, your energy, your cravings, your digestion, on a scale from 1 to 5, they all need to be at about a 4 or 5. That's how we know. If they're not, you don't go into a deficit, because a deficit is stress to the system. We don't want to add more stress, right? And if there's already stress. So we get those hormones balanced first. Once they're balanced, then you go, okay, am I eating enough? Am I eating the same amount of calories as to what my tracker is saying I'm burning? Within 100 calories or so, 100 to 200 calories. Is it close enough? And I feel good, because you have to be able to create. And I usually start clients with like a 300 to 400 calorie deficit to start, because what you don't want to do is create a big deficit right out of the gate, create a bunch of metabolic pushback, and then have no place to go. So what we want is intentional periods of deficits. The metabolism likes smaller deficits for a longer period of time, or deeper deficits for shorter periods of time. And I'll walk you through what that could look like. Normally, especially for the first round, because you do kind of cycle through these. For the first round, I'll have my clients start with anywhere from like a 400-ish calorie deficit between what they're currently eating and where I want them to go. So let's say that they're eating 2,100 calories. I'll drop their calories down by 300 to 400, depending upon where they're at. And it depends on when I drop that down, how close they are to their BMR. And if you don't remember what BMR is, go back to the first or second video. That's your basal metabolic rate. We don't eat calories at our basal metabolic rate. So I have to have enough room there in order to drop them down. So we start there. Usually I start with like 300 calories the first couple of days. And the reason being is that they're going to be hungry. They're used to eating more food, right? And so for the first couple of days, it's like, let me drop you down 350 calories, and we pull exercise. So it's just like, just walk, because they're going to be hungry and they're going to be tired. Now, after the first couple of days, the metabolism will adapt and they'll start to feel better. Like, oh, now I'm feeling better. So then I'll start to add in a little bit of exercise. Hey, let's add in a little bit of LIS or zone 2 cardio. Gets some good feel-good hormones going, right? But it doesn't create a ton of pushback in terms of hunger or cravings, right? So then that still, if you think about it now, I'm still just deepening that deficit, but I'm doing it a little bit at a time, right? And then usually after the first week, they're ready to start layering in some resistance training, right? So then we would go back to resistance training, but we do it at like just I call it a check the box. There's no like PRs. We're not killing the workout. We're just showing up. We're moving the weights. We're getting that resistance training in, but it's just a check the box. Like you're working at 65 to 70% of capacity, right? So that creates a little bit more of a deficit while we're still managing food. And then we just keep doing this over time. We just keep putting them in a little bit deeper deficit as they go and as their metabolism starts to adapt. So we don't go big deficits right out of the gate, because that's what creates that metabolic pushback. Now, there are some things that you can do that are more extreme. That's interesting. No exercise while doing the first deficit. That sure doesn't fit with the suffering mentality. It doesn't. But it's how you stay in the deficit a longer period of time and you don't swing into overeating, right? Suffering means I'm going to swing into overeating. I may only eat 1,200 calories, but I'm only going to do that for so many days before I head to the nearest pizza joint and stuff myself full of pizza, right? Because your metabolism will always push back. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't do suffering and extreme shit. I'll give you an example of one. I actually have a client doing it right now. She started yesterday. There are things that you can do deeper deficits for very short periods of time. And one of the ones that, and I'll just tell you guys what it is, do not do this until you've gone through the other version first. The smaller deficits for a longer period of time, layering it in. But there was a study done, oh, I forget when this was done. If you can Google it, it's the Icelandic 4-day walk study. And it was done with all men. And one of I mentioned Dr. Jay Tita. He's one of my longtime mentors. He told me about this probably 10 years ago. We started talking about it. And it's this Icelandic 4-day walk study that was done with a group of men, all of which needed to lose some weight. But they weren't like eating terribly. They just weren't eating great, right? Like they were kind of like in this, just like, I do okay, but it's not super great. But they all had weight to lose. So they basically took them all in. And for 4 days, here's what they did. They lowered their calories. I want to say their calories were around 300 calories in the study. And then they had them walk all day. And what was interesting about this study is not only did all of them lost weight, some of them significant amounts of weight, some of them up to like 20 pounds in the 4 days. But what was interesting about the study is that almost all of them kept it off a year later. Most of them continued to lose weight after the study was over, even though they had gone back to the normal way that they had been eating. And when they looked at like things like blood sugar and things like that, all of those numbers looked significantly better. Pretty interesting, right? So what my mentor did is he started, what about rucking? Rucking, no, because rucking would be like more like LIS cardio, zone 2 cardio going into high. It depends on how heavy you're lifting. That would definitely fall into more of a cardio zone. So you could layer that in. So that could be like that next layer, but I wouldn't start it with just the walking. They're different. Good question though. So anyway, so what my mentor did is he started kind of playing with this and doing having these retreats where he would pull people in and do this, and he modified it. So 4 years ago, he started really chatting it up again, and I decided to do it myself. A modified version. I did not do the 4 days. And the reason that I was concerned about it, and I said to him, I'm like, listen, like my concern is that I'm dealing with women. This study is on men, right? Like we react to things differently hormonally, you know this. And he was like, yeah, so we modified it. And he had been modifying it too. So what I did is I modified it to 2 days. It's a 2 day walk. We do 3 protein shakes a day. So it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I did a protein shake that had 30 grams of protein, 30 grams of carbs, and about 45 grams of fat. And I did that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then I walked 40,000 steps, which is about 6 hours worth of leisure walking. And I did it for 2 days. Um, Mind you, at the time, I'm fairly lean. I say pretty lean. I'm not a six-pack girl, but I lost 6 pounds. And what was interesting is not only did I lose 6 pounds, I kept it. Like it just kept going. And I literally got on a plane and flew to see my daughter and my family that weekend. And there were a couple margaritas. There was definitely some tacos. I didn't eat like a jerk because I don't normally do that anyway. But I was traveling and I was eating, out and didn't gain it back. And since then, I've done it with probably a handful of clients. I'm pretty picky with who I'll do it with because they can't be in a stress state because it won't work. And I would say about 50% of the time it doesn't work. 50% of the time it does. And what they'll notice is number one, it's hard, ladies. It's really hard. The client that's doing it right now, she did her first day yesterday and she sent me a message last night. She's like, my feet have never hurt so bad. And so I gave her some things to do to kind of cool that off, but she was back at it today. And she's dropped 2 pounds just yesterday. And because she doesn't swing, you can't be somebody who swings from under eating to overeating. That's the other trick. Because if you do this, and you swing back into overeating, it's for nothing. You just basically suffer for 2 days for no reason. So basically what we'll do is she'll do it again today. Tomorrow she'll rest, no movement, just complete rest. I'll take her calories up to like 15, 1600. Monday, I'll take her up to like closer to 17, 1800, and then we'll go from there. I'm guessing, given what her numbers look like this morning, that she'll probably do okay and she'll be able to keep it off. So it's kind of cool. So you can do the suffering just for shorter periods of time, and you have to be metabolically flexible where your metabolism just goes to work to adapt. It doesn't get stressed. Hopefully that makes sense. Does that make sense, guys? Don't do this unless you're already in a place of metabolic flexibility, or you'll just hate life and it won't work. But during this period of time, yes, you're going to start to drop pounds, you're going to drop inches, your clothes fit better, your confidence goes up. And then at some point, the metabolism will adapt and you will bottom out. And then you just rinse and repeat. You go back to, I like the no suffering better. Yeah. I will suffer because I have a hard time doing things for longer periods of time. So I'm definitely the 2 day girl where I'm like, I don't eat for 2 days and then I'm fine. But you have to be in a good place first. So, and we definitely do the non-suffering version in the beginning. But so at the end of this, your metabolism will kind of bottom out, right? Everything adapts. And so then you go, okay, let me make sure I balance my hormones back out. And then I need to start all over and I have to build my metabolism back up. And you do it to where you're still maintaining within a couple pounds. And then you can go back into a burn phase. So you just keep cycling through these phases until you get to your goal. How long do the phases take? A lot of that depends on, number one, how well you implement, because life is crazy. And so that is probably the biggest thing that I see women struggling with, is because there's so much going on inside their lives that sometimes they hit they get stuck in like a boost for a while, at a maintenance, just because life is crazy. and they don't hit the burn deficit as quickly as they wanted to. Because you have to be intentional, you have to be focused on what you're doing or it won't work. And then we just cycle back through over and over until you hit your goal. And then the goal is along the way, you get to a point where you're not having to count every little morsel. Like a lot of times once somebody's gone through this cycle once, they come back around, even in a boost, I don't have them log every day. I'll have them spot check it, right? Give me a couple days, give me a couple days. And as long as I see what I need to see, and their body's responding the way that they need to, I know what the numbers are that we need to hit before we can hit another deficit. Hopefully that makes sense. So before I go into anything else, do you guys have any questions on how that works? Nope. Okay. With that, here are the next steps. You can take this and run with it. If you're a DIYer, take it, run it. I'm giving you a lot of information that you can implement. You could literally do this entire process, and some people will have it work. What I have found is that most women have a hard time implementing it. And they need the help being able to implement it, because no matter what you do, there's always going to be those challenges, those monkey wrenches that get thrown in of like, hey, I tried this, it didn't work. It's just not ever clean. And that's where having that support comes in. It makes the difference. So you're not only getting the support, but you're getting an environment. Most women do not have an environment that supports these changes. They have an environment that is built upon stress and obligation. And even in their relaxed time, it's like wine with the girlfriends. It's eating out, it's social events, right? It's not an environment that really supports this change. And one of the things I've always said about CrossFit is that I find it fascinating, whether you like CrossFit or not. What I love about CrossFit is they've shown us the value of community. When we talk about suffering, like it is people committed to showing up. And the reason that they do those workouts is they are in an environment, in a community of other people suffering, doing the same thing. And it's addictive, right? It's that I'm going to do it with you. But if you take those people out of that class and you give them the workout to do on their own, the vast majority of them will not do it on their own. They will only do it in that environment. That's how humans work. Environment matters. And so if you're ready to take the next step, this is your invitation to join us in Midlife Metabolism Accelerator. It is my very, very high touch coaching program. And I'm opening up 10 spots for people who want to start in April. There are two bonuses. One of them I'm going to explain as we go through it. The big bonus is for the first 3 ladies who get enrolled. I'm offering an additional 3 one-on-one sessions with me that you can use however you want. You can use them to either jumpstart your program. You can use them when you need it, however you want to do it. You guys will have access to that for the first 3 ladies who sign up. So it's a 6-month coaching program. It's for women who are frustrated at their lack of results. They are looking to not only drop pounds and belly fat, but they want to feel better. They want better energy. They want to live their life instead of just trying to survive their day. They also want food freedom. And this is a big one because most of the women who come to me still label food. Oh, I ate the cookie. I know I shouldn't have ate the cookie. I knew I shouldn't have eaten that. Oh, there was a piece of pie. I had a piece of pie, right? Everything is good and bad. Well, what I teach you through this program, obviously I'm telling you to eat the cookie, is I help you repair your unhealthy relationship with food. And that's what makes this easier to sustain over time. Because we are balancing your hormones out, yes, you can increase your libido. I can help you with things like maneuvering perimenopause and menopause and HRT options. It's going to help you age well, improve your overall health. Sometimes I think we get very focused on the way that we look and we forget about our overall health and our ability to age well. And also just to be able to create a sustainable lifestyle that works for you. We have to apply what works for you so that you don't ever have to diet again. Now, here's what the breakdown is. It includes monthly one-on-one coaching calls. And what we do in those coaching calls is you and I get on a Zoom just like this. I open up your fitness app. I'm going to look at all the data. I'm going to look at all of your feedback. And in that call, I'm going to help you focus for the next 4 weeks. Here's what I want you to focus on. Here are the numbers that we need. Here's what I need you to work on. You're going to give me the challenges that you've been having. I'm going to help give you some strategies. And so that way you're always getting that touch point with me so that you know where your focus lies. Inside the fitness app, I'm going to customize your nutrition and your exercise programming for you. So all of that is in there. Workouts are based on your skill level, what phase you're in, and what equipment you have access to, right? So yes, you can work out at home or you can go to a gym, entirely up to you. And then you do get unlimited messaging and support with me when you need it. So like my lady who's doing the 2-day walk right now, she's sending me messages and I'm sending her messages. Or if you haven't pooped in 4 days, you're like, Jen, what do I do? You send me a message and I walk you through what you need to do. So you do always have access to me. We also do weekly check-in forms. So every weekend I send out a check-in form. It's really easy to complete and it's pretty basic. What worked, what didn't, what are you going to focus on? What's your schmeck? What's your digestion? I get that information back. I go into your fitness app. I look at all the data, I put it together, and I give you feedback on that. So you are still getting feedback from me every single week. Now it's also going to give you access to the private MMA membership site. And I'm going to pull this up so you guys can see what this looks like. Pull this up. And this is the back end support that you'll have in between our calls. And it looks like this. So you have your membership site, you can log in. At the very beginning, you're going to see you're getting started, your fitness app, how you sync everything, how you log everything, how to take measurements. Everything you need to know is in this first section, right, to get started. And then we go right into the balance, boost, and burn. So in between those calls, you can always go back and go, okay, how do I increase my calories and not my waistline? What did Jen say about that? Because on the calls, yes, I will be teaching you some stuff, but my main goal is, I don't know if you guys remember the, what's the name? Oh, I forget the name of the show, but it was the car Kit. You guys remember Kit? And he had like the little lasers that went back and forth. Like that's my brain, is I'm just scanning as I'm talking to you, going, okay, where's the gap? What do we need to do to get from here to here? So while I will teach you, it's not my prime objective. My prime objective is to help you figure out what we need to do to get you to the next step. This is the stuff that you'll be able to go in and learn and have it on repeat so you start to understand it. And they're just quick little videos that explain what it is that we're like, what's the difference between adaptation and a plateau, next level fat loss, like what are those options? So I walk you through Night Rider. Yes. I have perimenopause brain. So yeah, it was Night Rider kit. And then there's tons of bonuses. So macro-friendly foods, recipes. I got a lot of them. Grocery guides. How do you walk into a grocery store and know what to eat? And then I've got videos that are already in here. I will also drop other ones in here as we go. There's a beginner strength training boot camp that I did. Macros to moderation was super popular. It's how I teach you to go from being able to track your macros to being able to go to any holiday, social event, weekend, getaway, whatever, and be able to navigate it without any stress. So you have all of this as your back end support system. Let me go back to, whoops, nope. There we go. Okay. You also are going to get weekly community coaching calls. So every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, I don't know if that's going to work with you, Francesca, 4 p.m. Pacific, we do a community coaching call. And the way that I do it is I basically just look at all of the clients that we have and the feedback that I'm getting and figure out like where are people struggling the most. I'll pick a topic and I'll coach you guys on it for 15 to 20 minutes. And then I open it up for questions after that. I do record those calls, just like this one. So there's no video unless you want to be on video. And then I upload them into the MMA membership and I will keep them in there for 4 to 6 weeks. So that way, if you do miss it, you do have access to it. And if you are in a different time zone, I have clients that do this too, and they can't make the calls. If they have a question, but they want me to address it on the call, you can always shoot me a message, because sometimes you'll send me messages in the fitness app and it's like a longer explanation. And they're like, can you just address this on the call and I'll go back and watch it? Yep, I can do that too. So you have access to that. The private community is done inside the fitness app. It's kind of like what we've been using in the challenge, where you see what everybody's doing. We do challenges as clients too. They're pretty fun, and clients will typically be like, hey, when are we doing our next one? And I attach prizes to that too, and people have a good time. You do also have access to discounted lab work. So along the way, if you're having trouble getting the lab work that you need, I do have a company that I work with. It isn't overseas, so that we would have to find you one if you're out of country. But if you're in the States and not in New Jersey, we can get you discounted lab work. And then the other bonus that I'm adding in is 6 months to the Pausing Together membership. And honestly, guys, even if you don't end up working with me, you need to go to this website. So let me pull it up really quick. I am actually, what's that? Here we go. I'm so glad I found Jill, because she really was the missing piece for me when it comes to being able to help women understand their options when it comes to perimenopause and menopause, specifically in regards to HRT. It is a very confusing, overwhelming environment out there. Social media is going to scare the bejesus out of you with HRT. And then the other side is it's completely safe. And you have people, and I've had clients come to me who are getting too many hormones, right? Like they're getting injected with too many. And it's just a very confusing place to be. What I like about Jill is she comes from a conventional medicine background. She is an RN, but she is up to date specifically on hormones for women going through perimenopause and menopause. And so she's created this community. And as your guys' bonus, I'm including a 6-month membership. So she's got a beginner's guide to hormone replacement therapy. So she gives you options. So that way, you know, instead of just going to a doctor and they're saying, you need this, you're like, I don't know, that's what the doctor said. She'll explain to you what your options are. So you are educated in it. Inside the community, you've got a content library. There's chats, live Q&A chats. So Jill actually asked if I would join the community guest experts. So I'm in there too. We answer your questions. So when they come up, like my doctor said this, what do I have option? What options do I have? You guys have access to that. There's community connection. It's just got a lot of information so that you can make the best choice for you. And I always tell people, like, listen, I have clients that are on HRT and I have clients that elect not to do it. That's your choice. I'm not going to try to sway you one way or the other. My job is just to educate you so you can make the best choice for you. How can, Francesca asks, how can we as women not have special health care facilities? I'm with you, sister. It's mind-boggling that the lack of care that we get, the lack of understanding of what this is like. I'll not get up on my soapbox. It's mind-boggling. And I can tell you that even as someone who is in the industry, who knows about hormones, I can tell you I lost my mind 3 years ago when I went into my healthcare professional and she wouldn't even test my hormones, like wouldn't even touch them. I'm just like, are you crazy? Like, what? I don't understand. And I can also tell you that it has been a process finding a practitioner to help me get the hormones that I want. I've gone through 2. And it's been a process. And so you learn, like, oh, like it's not all the same. And so my goal is to help you shorten that learning curve to make it easier and not make you feel like you need to have a PhD in hormonal therapy. I want you to just understand the basics. I want you to understand the things that are outdated information and have been debunked so that you're not afraid. I want you to know what your real risks are, so you can make decisions from there. So that's it. Oh, hold on. Let me go back over here. So that is the Pausing Together membership. 6 month. These are just some clients that I thought I'd throw up in here. You can see them on the link if you guys go to the link to get set up. These are clients that have come along the way. Great results. This one that you see here was kind of interesting. This one was she actually, this is not a lot of weight loss. That's 5 or 6 pounds, honestly. But she dropped a lot of fat, and that's what that was. So it was kind of interesting. This woman here was doing CrossFit 5 days a week, and we pulled her back. This woman was doing Orange Theory Fitness 5 days a week. She was working out 3 days a week. So, oh, she was doing CrossFit 5 days a week too. had those kind of women coming to me, and it doesn't mean that you can never do it. It just means that we need to make sure your hormones are balanced when you do it. So here are the next steps. Here's the money part. 6-month investment. You can do it one time. It's $18.47, or there is a financing option, so you can pay 3 months at $686 for 3 months in a row. Here's what I will tell you. I offer 100% risk-free guarantee, and what this means is you get enrolled in the program. Within the first 14 days, as long as you're showing up, I just ask that you show up, right? Within the first 14 days, if you decide that this program is not for you, I will refund your money, because I don't want to have to convince you to stay. I want it to be the thing that works the best for you. I want it to be a no-brainer for you, where you commit and you're in it, and you're ready to go to work. So that's how that works. How do I join? Claim one of the 10 open spots. So there is going to be an invitation that goes out. I will send it out via email as soon as we get done. It's also going to be in the group chat. If you have questions, you can email me at jen@jenvhill, the G is like an H.com. You can also set up a consultation if you're just like, I need to talk to you first. No, I'm fine with that too. We can have a quick, like, oh, I'm not a pressure girl. I don't believe in it. I want it to be, yes, I want you to be a little nervous, but I want it to be like, I know this is what I need to do. So you can set up a consultation with me. I'm happy to do that. And then the first 3 women that sign up will get the additional 3 sessions. So with the normal 6-month program, you get 1 per month. The 3 women who get the bonus are going to get an additional 3 sessions that you can either use to jumpstart your program, or you can kind of bank them and save them for later. The way that this is going to get rolled out is it's getting rolled out to you guys today. Tomorrow, it will go out to my entire email group. And then starting on Monday, it will go on social media. So you guys have access to first dibs on those spots as we go. All right, questions. How long will the videos be up? Which videos, Francesca?
The ones that you've done for the replay, because I haven't finished them all.
Oh, I'll leave them up. They'll be up for probably a couple weeks at least.
Okay, good.
Yep, you guys have. I have no plans on taking those down right now, so you're good. Any other questions? That was a good question.
Well, I'll go with one more question, and that is, there's this what you call it? What you call it in English? It's the competition, the not the competition, but the
Challenge?
the prize challenge thingy.
Yes. When am I going to announce the winners?
Yeah.
That work. So the contest winners, I'm giving everybody through today, probably through even half a day tomorrow, just to make sure everybody's got everything logged in. And then I'll announce those winners by tomorrow night.
Okay.
Good questions. Anybody else got any questions? All right, guys, I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate the interaction. I hope that you found this useful, whether you decide to move forward or not, but I do hope some of you do, because I would love the opportunity to get to work with you. So that being said,
Jen?
Yeah.
Is it possible, because I have one question more, but it's sort of a private question. I'm wondering, could you stay on just like 3 minutes maybe?
I would love to, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep. In fact, you know what we'll do, because I was saying we can either jump off and then jump back on.
Okay.
I can take it off the recording. Do you want to do that? We'll just jump off and then jump back on.
Okay.
All right, guys, with that, I will.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, when you were doing the working out before you do the burn, so that like when you drop the 300 calories to go into deficit, is your calories before the burn, so when you're sort of maintaining, is that your calories that's the basic metabolic rate that your body needs just to survive?
I'm going to need you to say that again. Walk me through it again, because my brain is trying to pick it up.
Okay, so you know when you're saying that, like when we've got our hormones and everything right, and then we want to do the burn phase to lose weight, where we drop the 300 calories for a few days, and then we add in the resistance training as well.
Yes.
To know to know our calories first in the first place before we drop, is that is that the BMR number that we need just to survive?
Okay, I think I understand you. If I don't, then grab me. This is a good question. So remember, it's boost, it's balance, then boost, then burn. So how do you know calories wise to go into the burn is what I think I'm understanding and avoiding that BMR, right? So if you look, do you have a tracker? Do you have like a watch or tracker?
No.
Okay, so if you go to TDEE calculator online, just type that in, TDEE
Yeah.
calculator, plug in your basic information, right? And then you're gonna look at, it'll give you, based on your activity level, it'll say like, you know, sedentary, works out 1 to 3 times lightly a week, you know, up to 5 to 6 times per week, right? And it'll give you kind of an idea of what calories are for your total daily energy expenditure. You need to be able to consume pretty close to that amount without gaining weight.
Okay.
Now, here's where it's tricky. Let's say that it's saying 2,200 calories, right? So you're like, yep, I've worked my way up to 2,200 calories. And then you go, okay, 300 calories off of that, right? Puts you at, quick math, 1,900 calories, right? So if your BMR was 1,900 calories, I would say that's not high enough because we don't want to be at your BMR. But if your BMR is at 1,300 calories, you can drop down to 19. You can drop all the way down to like 1,500, 1,600. You could technically drop down to 1,300 for a very short period of time. But to do the deficit, I would drop you down to 1,700, 1,800 first. And then I would just keep expanding that gap little by little, usually by doing more exercise first. And then what you can always do is as you add in the exercise, so we start with a little bit of LISS, we start with walking, then we add a little bit of LISS cardio, then we do strength training, but at a lighter level, then we increase the intensity of your strength training. And once we max that out, if there's still room where I'm not close to that BMR, then I can cut your calories down a little bit lower. But typically when we do that, you're pretty close to bottoming out. Even just from a mental bandwidth standpoint, most people are pretty much like, okay, I'm done. Like I need food. You know, does that help? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm maybe missing a bit on the couple of days that I haven't watched the replays yet to maybe understand that better. And so then when you level out again, do you then sort of drop again the 300 because you'll have got smaller? So do you need less calories in a sense?
Yep. So at some point you will you'll bottom out, right? And so at that point, then you just go, okay, let me make sure I'm balanced, right? And that's going to be going back and looking at your biofeedback, sleep, hunger, energy management, moods, cravings, all that. Like, are those balanced? And then you're just going to start over. You're going to reboost that metabolism. You're going to go through that phase again. So you literally just cycle through. You cycle through balance, you cycle through boost, burn, and then once you hit the bottom of burn, you come back to balance and go, okay, am I balanced? All right, let me boost this back up, then I can burn again. And you just keep cycling all the way to your goal.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing, honestly, is just making sure that you hit each check mark before you go into the next one. Right?
Okay.
You have to be eating enough calories to create a deficit. You have to have a basic hormonal balance. And then as you create the deficit, you want to layer it in. You don't want a giant deficit day one, or you're going to be miserable.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Alicia asked, do we redo our TDE when you hopefully lose some weight? Yes, your TDEE will change as you lose weight.